Hey guys, how's it going? It is Alexander Williamson here with the secret history living in your aquarium. Doing a sound check, mic check, sound check. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You gotta get together. You gotta get together. You gotta get together. You gotta. All right. Mick says, hey, I got a sleepover here in Europe, but you may lurk. All right, well, hopefully we'll see you around. Patty, Jerome, what's going on? 3G, Mystery Snails, uh, Guardians, Misfits, Reptiles, and Aquatic. What is going on? Oh, 503, Shanna, what is going on? Let's see here. Jerome, Fishing, Tank Ticks. We got lots of great people in here today. Let me just pop on, make sure we got all this hooked up. So today what I want to talk about, as well as anything you guys would like to talk about, is I would love to talk about the fish that are so difficult to breed that they don't get bred in captivity. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the ones that are just like really hard to breed, but they, in theory, with hormones and injections and a crazy expensive setup, they can be bred. And then we're going to talk about the ones that are literally like, you cannot breed them. Nobody's figured it out. They're mysterious. Not even a little bit of Barry White or Kenny G will do it. I mean, like impossible. So I'd love your input. If there's something, if there's a fish that you know, like, ooh, I've tried this and it is not going to happen. You will not get that to breed in captivity. I'd love to hear your input. Danikin, what's going on, Kenny? I hope you're doing well. I feel like I haven't talked to you in a minute. I need to give you a call and hear your lovely voice now that you're no longer sick. Yes, clown loaches are one of the classics that cannot be bred in captivity. That being said, there are two cases of them being bred, caught first generation, then being bred in captivity that I've read of. That's not a whole lot. And one was an actual aquarium facility that had a giant Amazon. It had been an Amazon exhibit. That's not what they're from, but so it had the water for like pacus and big stuff, and they had the fish in there as like while the exhibit was closed, and apparently they spawned kind of unexpectedly. So there's one report about that. And then in the UK, there's also a person who bred them in, I think, like an 800-gallon home aquarium. And beyond that, they have been bred, especially in Southeast Asia. A lot of those countries, they use hormones to start their fish to get them to lay eggs, and then the males will kind of just do their thing once the females lay their eggs. And so there's been that, as well as in vitro fertilization, but we're definitely not going to count in vitro fertilization because, or I guess it would be not even in vitro. Some of it would be out vitro. I don't know what you call it, but yeah. So that wouldn't be in the body in vitro, but yeah. Yes, eels are definitely a great one. Pandagaras, they're tricky. I've bred pandagaras unintentionally. I've had a few spawn. Panda loaches are even harder than that, and I have had one spawn in 5 years of trying. When they did it, it was set up so that I had 12 of them, and they were in a tank that had two power heads running above, like kind of angled, like right below the surface, and just giving it lots of current and lots of turbulence at the surface. And the tank was really low. It was a 40 breeder, I guess. Yeah, 40 breeder. And I had just kind of broken the tank in. And there was lots of wood, lots of rocks and leaves and just stuff in there. It wasn't even a tank that was like presentable, really. But they happened to be in there. And then when I moved them out later, after counting all 12 that I got out, put them in the tank I wanted to breed them in. Later, I noticed the babies that I had two babies. So that was 3 years ago. and there was a live stream when I found them, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a baby. That was blind dumb luck, not skill, I don't think. Even though I was creating what their habitat is pretty closely, there's something that goes on there. But we're going to talk about some of the things that if you want success in breeding fish, there's a few things you're going to want to look for, and like traits, and there's essentially a list of like, oh, what did I write down? Maybe 9 or 10 traits that a fish must have. And it can have more than one of these traits, but it has to have them in the way it reproduces, or you're just not going to be able to. So we'll look at some of these fish too and keep chatting. A lot of the saltwater fish have not been bred. There's a lot that's kind of that's another thing where, yes, we of course farm salmon and some of the fish that come and go from fresh and saltwater, but the home aquarium, it would be quite difficult. You really need like, a big circular cement tank, and you need power heads. Basically, you need flow that's one way, the circle. Then you need like gravel, and I mean, you got to have everything just right, and it's a big facility, and they happen to be group spawners also, and usually, even so, they have to strip the fish of their goodies and combine those, and then they have the fish hatch, and then they deal with them. They don't really let them reproduce and live in a colony breeding type situation. Maybe that would be cool to go to a salmon hatchery. We have a whole lot around here in Washington, and to look at how you breed salmon. But the tricky part is, a lot of fish we can even get to spawn. It's getting the babies to hatch, not get fungus. Those things start to get really difficult and pile up as problems really quickly also. So we'll talk about all that. And then if anybody has questions, like I said, hit the @ symbol, The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. It'll pop up on my little feed here. And if you are a member, which starts at $1.99, I know a lot of you are, and just thank you guys so much. That's really helped a ton during the summer, just to have the reliable support. And actually, Kenny just dropped a link to that. But for $1.99, you get some kind of behind the scenes stuff. Y'all are gonna actually, I've got a new Betta, which I will show you guys momentarily, and we're naming them, and we've got some good suggestions from y'all already on there. But all sorts of stuff is under the community tab. I add there, and for helping support the channel to keep it free to people, because I know a lot of people, you don't have the money to spare. That's fine. I'm in the same boat with, I can't give to every channel, so just give to your favorite channels when you can, and don't worry about it. But if you got an extra $2 to spare, you can join there, and then I'm a lot more receptive. I try to always answer those questions first as the channel's been growing and getting to the size where I can't get to everyone all the time. And then also, I try to keep you guys involved in making some choices and stuff. Also, I wanted to say, Shanna, your channel, what I want to say 503. Is that right? 503, or am I off by a digit? 503. Okay, yeah, 503 Aquatics. I was like, 503. Is it 508? 503. 503 Aquatics. Thank you so much for the super chat. I also see that you dropped a super chat first of the day. So appreciated. $2.99 super sticker. So thank you. CK3G. Who else is in here? Big E's Aquatics. Guacamole Breakfa. Right on. Can you breed dwarf anchor catfish in captivity? Yes, you can. They're tricky though, but I have read accounts of them being bred. I've not done it though. Yeah, so Bio Aquatics, the owner of Bio Aquatics down in Florida also has bred clown loaches. The other one, No, Bleeding Heart Tetras is the one that I've not heard anybody breed yet. I haven't even seen one account of that one. But we'll go over some of those ones that are pretty tricky. And, you know, there's some that are just very hard, you know, like, so feasibly it's doable, but you know, we'll talk about that in a sec about, so some are limiting because we don't know why. And those are the ones like mormyrids. We don't know why they won't breed in captivity, or most species won't. You know, I think there's 36 species now, from everything that we call like the baby whale species to the well, let's pull it up. Let's pull it up and take a look. Today we can baby, you know, we can share my screen. I can show you fish magazines. But we'll take a look at some of the mormyrids. Let's see here. Jordan, what's going on? Yeah, I'm going to teach you how to breed Mabu puffers. That's not happening today. That they are easily bred, or not easily, but they are being bred now. You know, there was a time when people said, "Oh, you can't breed those in captivity." They're same with the zebra plecos, which what happened is on the Xingu River, or Xingu, however you want to pronounce it. It's with an XI, so Xingu is probably how we should say it. But on the Xingu River, they built a dam, and the dam made the water very deep, whereas they used to have shallow river in the dry season. And so there used to be rocks and light just stuff, you know, all over the place. And now there's none of that. It's deep. It's 30 or 40 feet, you know, whatever, 10, 15 meters deep. And they can't graze on the algae that accumulates on the rocks, and they can't eat the biofilm that was used to be there. So their habitat size has been reduced immensely. And we don't know for sure, but it looks like they're not doing well. Dams tend to do that. That's very, very unfortunate, but it happens a lot. Atkins Nature Aquarium says, if you look online at the ORA, there are quite a few saltwater fish being bred in captivity. A lot of clowns, hippotangs, and some races. I was looking at a lot more spendy though. Yeah, well, I actually have the video of the interview I did with the Florida. It's a research center, but it's the Aquaculture Research Center down in Florida, and it's teamed up with several universities, and then the state funds it. It's actually just like they would agricultural stuff. They consider aquaculture and tropical fish as well as food fish like tilapia or I don't know what else they're breeding, catfish and prawns and freshwater crayfish and things like that. They help them discover how to cure pathogens and how to get fish to breed that won't breed. So basically the farmers come to them with a desire like, okay, the market is doing X, Y, and Z, and I want to get in on the ability to breed this, but nobody's done the research on how to do that. So they go in and they have grad students and experts from all over figure that out, and then they share that info amongst the Florida people first, and then usually a few years later it trickles out to the public. As Kenny is saying down below, you can see me speaking also at Fishtoberfest down in Portland, Oregon, October 10th. There's going to be great speakers. There's going to be a bunch of vendors. It's in Portland. So if you like, if you're on the right side of the aisle or the left side of the aisle, or you don't believe that the aisle exists and you only believe in levitating and teleporting yourself places, wherever you fall, it's an interesting city with something for you. It's a cool city. So it should be fun. They also have the Wet Spot, which is one of the coolest fish stores there is. That's the Cichlid Exchange, which probably, if you live anywhere in the country, probably your local mom and pop fish stores have ordered something from cichlid exchange at some point in time. Seagrass and cichlid exchange are almost unavoidable in this hobby, you know, in the business of it these days. So yeah, let's see here. Heaton Aquatics says, I've worked on a few different freshwater fish farms, including trout, salmon, and Sparkticks. I don't know what those are. Studied fish biology, fish husbandry, fish biology. If you want to compare notes or chat, I would love to. Yeah, that's really interesting. I would love to know more about the hormones that they use or don't use in the U.S. I know we have different laws than in other places, whereas in, you know, China or Malaysia or Indonesia, they can have access to whatever they want and they can pump them full of it. There are regulations in the U.S. Now, food fish versus ornamental fish, there's different laws. So I know that that can have an impact as well. Richard McCarthy, how's it going? Good to see you. Zen Ginger, good to see you. Jordan, good to see you. BJ Palmer, good to see you. Larry D, what's up? All right, let's see here. So what else did I miss? Richard. Oh, you guys are talking. You guys are meeting each other. Jordan, thank you so much for joining as a member. Dun, 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 dun. I need like a level up noise. You know, I don't like the channels that have a thing scrolling and then like things popping up and then like, wow, ding, 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 ding. But I do kind of want like maybe the coin noise that Mario, when he jumps up and hits it, that would be great. Just a little something, something. But yes, Leo, what's going on too? Good to see you, buddy. And Jay Oliver's Guppies and Aquatics, as well as Atkins. Obviously, I mentioned your question earlier, but good to see you, Ian. But yeah, thanks for becoming a member. It helps me to know, oh, that amount of money next month will be there, you know. And then if I do something where you guys think I should be canceled, also it gives me a pretty good idea of like, oops, I screwed up. Everyone left me. Oink Master Supreme Forever. Now there's a cool name. Let's see here. Lots of farms import a spawning hormone from a fish brain to start the process. Can cost up to 15 euro or pounds for a couple of grams of the hormone. That's interesting. I would almost guess anything that is the oh, I'm totally gonna butcher it now, but it's the luteinizing hormone, I would guess. So the luteinizing hormone, so the way reproduction works in all animals that we know of, essentially, is in your brain, the most basic part of your brain. And the only reason I actually happen to know this, I wouldn't even know this if it weren't for the lightning strike, unfortunately. But I got a broken brain, and so I unfortunately had to learn about this. But the luteinizing hormone, or LCS or LZS, I've seen them abbreviated different ways. Basically, it is a chemical made in your pituitary gland. Now, in almost all animals, not all, but most, even I'm talking fish, skinks, scorpions, spiders, all of them, all of us critters, all of us vertebrae, and even invertebrates, they have a little gland in the brainstem that's very ancient, and it's the pituitary gland. So before we can even make testosterone or estrogen or progesterone or some of the corticosteroids, I believe, like cortisone and some of the other, there might be some precursor chemicals also to like adrenaline and things like that. But basically they all get made in the pituitary part of the brain, and then that's deep in your brain. For me, if you, and for you too, but if you were to go straight in through your nose and back to where your ear is, basically where your spine and your brain, spinal column and your brain kind of connect, you've got this little pea-sized thing, and it is your pituitary gland, and that makes this chemical, which then runs to your thyroid. Now, not all animals have the thyroid. Some actually have multiple glands all over. They have a system of lymphatic drainage that works differently than ours. But for humans, we've got the thyroid, and then that's where you create, or at least synthesize, as well as in the gut, which was relatively new. I mean, now people act like, oh, we've known that forever, but it was relatively new information. Oh, wait, I wish it was 15 pounds, but I suppose, oh, 15, is it supposed to be 15,000? I think you typoed again, but I get it. That would be more rare for sure, because to get it in, hey, what's going on, Pete? Good to see you, buddy. Xana Doodoo, good to see you too, brother. So to get the luteinizing hormones for humans, just for like me to try to make my own testosterone again, because I have to inject supplemental testosterone, progesterone. It must regulate human growth hormone too, because I mean, not that I need much of that right now, but yeah, especially when kids are growing and stuff. But the chemical that, if I were to buy the drug that initiates your pituitary gland to actually secrete that stuff, there's one type of chemical. Then those chemicals that it makes, those can be refined and or taken from other animals. They're so similar that other mammals can share that thing, just like we can share epinephrine, like allergy shots, or you know, to prevent anaphylaxis. We can share that with other mammals. But so yeah, they are able to take that, and somehow they synthesize it or make it, and that goes, the luteinizing hormone goes right from your pituitary gland to your thyroid usually. So the luteinizing hormone goes into your blood, then it goes all over your body and touches all the receptors of your body, where then you will create the testosterone, the progesterone, all the rones, all the good rones and moans that your body hormones create. Also, then after that, you know, there's also the fact that your testosterone breaks down into estrogen after it's been in your system a while. So all these things come into play with fish too, obviously. But it's interesting how some of those most primitive systems in our evolution, we figured out, you know, they evolved when we were little four-legged lizards running around, or fish or whatever. And then they stuck around. I mean, they work that well. All right, let's see here. Millions and Sons, what's going on, buddy? John, welcome, and thank you so much for becoming a member. We got a member pledge drive going on today. So welcome to the fold. I'm probably gonna knock this off, hit myself in the face with it. Good thing it's omnidirectional. Millions and Sons, you ever think about some resistance training to get most of your HRT? Bet Swole Alexander might create some interesting content. You know, I'm not sure. Hormone replacement therapy is what HRT is, guys. Hormone replacement therapy. You know, I have gained weight though, because I'm on that, plus I'm on cortisone shots, injections into my spine, because I've got 5 herniated discs, or just not there discs since the lightning strike. And then I've also got some other issues with lupus. So my skin gets all sorts of welts and hives, because my immune system overreacts. But yeah, it's amazing that we share these systems with fish, these ancient systems of how our body works. I mean, or even just things like optical nerves and things like that. Like, there's a book called Your Inner Fish. Oh, I thought I had it on the shelf over there, but it's a pretty interesting read. It talks about all the different things that you can still find that fish and us have in common from evolution, probably 800 million years ago or something ridiculous, when we shared some sort of ancestry. All right. So, oh, but what I was going to say about that hormone, because if you're saying for fish, it's like $15,000 for a gram or something, or whatever it is, 15,000, 1,500, whatever it is, it's too much money. It's expensive. But for me to get the injection, it was going to be $6,000 a month total. It was like 2,800 plus tax, which is 10% here, 11.2% here in Seattle. And insurance wouldn't cover any of it. So I am not going to be creating my own hormones anytime soon, unless my brain wakes up. But right now it's just a white spot on the MRI. And I was like, oh, cool, it's white. That means it's working, right? And they're like, no, that means it's got contrast dye in it and it's just doing nothing. All right, let's see here. All right, we've got a fun fact of the day. Lionel Messi also takes HRT due to an inherited genetic illness that stops growth and development. The more you know. Ding. All right. Yeah, if you had an inner fish, what would it be? 3G says flower horn. I think mine would probably be a lamprey because I suck. No. I think I would be something real derpy, like a panda loach. They're pretty derpy. They kind of just all lump together on rocks and sit there and just do their thing. Zen Ginger using our little shooting star. Appreciate it. Kate, welcome. So now I can pull this up. Do your job, Alex. All right. How do I get that to happen again? All right. Boom. Ta-da! All right. So we were talking about indubitably impossible fish to breed. Mormyrids. I don't know of any in captivity. Now, if you know of some, please let me know. Do not go by order lists because order guides frequently will say tank raised, blah, blah, blah. And they'll say like tank raised ultimate angels from Nicaragua. And you're like, what? They don't live in Nicaragua. So don't trust an order guide. You definitely want to find an article or something. But the Mormyrids, there's a bunch of them. And, you know, this was kind of cool. I saw this picture, which they mapped out for a study. There's also a study on it, but I'm not going to download all that PDFs right now live for you. But as we talked about, my elephant nose fish, one of these guys, my Peter's eye, EI, so hard to say. They are really cool, and they haven't been bred in captivity, but you know, they use electronics to talk to each other. They have electrical signals. They have a little organ. That's why they all have the same tail here. They all have this peculiar tail right here. Well, this is like a Leyden jar or Leyden jar, and then you've got like essentially coils here. So it's a charge that runs here and then it emits out evenly. And then they have sensory organs all down this lateral line right here that you can see, except for the lateral line doesn't go down over this because there would be interference and they need to pick up the signals. But then if you see, they've actually got something similar to a lateral line right here as well. They've got 3 more here, and then they've got all over their skin. They've got, if we take a look, in here, those aren't just little scales. Those are actually little sensory nodes, almost like taste buds. But the meaning to say, and then they've got also, I think it's a, I can't remember for sure, but I think it's a Johnston's organ. which is where they can sense heat, like a pit viper as well, which is pretty cool, because they live in mucky rivers, like the Nile. And but in any case, they're a difficult one, that we haven't cracked the nut on, even though they're a super common fish, which in the wild. So just because a fish hasn't been bred, you know, it doesn't mean they're rare or that they'll have to be expensive or anything like that. It's kind of odd, honestly. You would think that it's always going to be an expensive fish in the hobby if you can't breed it in captivity, but that's just not the case. So yeah. Let's see here. Let's go back to this guy. And then we can pull up another fish that's the case with. So Ultima angelfish are another one that we can breed these in captivity, but so many are mislabeled. They're not really Ultima angels. I don't know if this is or isn't. I'm not good enough of an expert to tell. I assume it is because it's being used all over. People have just cropped the same photo and used it in different ways, you can see here. But they are a fish that you can find out in the wild that's just hard to breed in captivity. That being said, we do have a guy right here in town in Seattle Shoreline, in my actual suburb, that can breed these and has bred the ultims. They're just beautiful, especially with the red tint on them too. But yeah, you'd think that if they're so similar to Scalara angelfish, but Ultima angelfish are not. And they look the same. They live in the same environment and habitat pretty much, but for some reason, it's just really hard to spawn them. And we don't know exactly why. Alec the nice just said just bred my discus. So that, yeah, let's get to the list of traits that your fish has got to have to want to spawn it, essentially. Like if it doesn't have X, Y, and Z, you're not going to have a good time. If you pizza when you're supposed to hot dog, or French fry, what is it? I don't remember how the saying goes. You're going to have a bad time. Pufferfish, yeah, that's another one that's definitely that way. Let's see here. Oh man, I'm sorry, Oink Master. That is rough. Yeah, that's rough. I feel for you. Zach's Fishy Journeys, welcome, buddy. Just got snowflake eel. She has little sensory receptors all over, kind of similar. Yeah, they're really cool. They are really cool in that way. And also, you know, actually, all Corridora have sensors. They have all Corridora. If you guys hadn't seen my catfish episode that I did, that was like a half-hour long, goes over like the commonalities in catfish. But it's just really crazy how they all have at least 1,200 of these little taste bud receptors. I mean, that's the closest thing we can see that it is. When we cut it apart, dissect it, it resembles like the taste bud type thing. So that's what we think. Let's see. Is there Aquatic Arts equivalent in the UK? I'm struggling to find weird and wonderful nano fish. Oh, I wish there was. You know, they are working on shipping internationally, first to Mexico, and right now they already have been shipping to Canada somewhat, and Alaska and stuff, but I don't know if that's just like a special occasion type thing that has sparked that. But they're working on that, and they're all moved to their new facility. And I guess I should tell you guys again that because of that, because of everybody's help, honestly, we got all their fish cleared out that they had, and they have a brand new facility that is doing really, really well. I mean, they're still setting it up and everything, But because of that, you know, they had the 40% off sale when they moved for a while. But even though they thought they weren't ever going to do it again, they are doing another giant sale already, which is they're doing 20. Oh, looks like they've rebuilt the website a bit too. That's interesting. The other thing they're going to be trying to do, since I work with them, is they're going to be trying to do more on social media and give out more prizes and things like that. So even if you're not in the States, but you want to submit, you know, that you bred something that's really cool, or you have an aquascape that you're really proud of, they want to get more people involved, and they also want to back things. So they're backing like Fishtoberfest, you know, they want to support and help that. Also, the nonprofit, the Green Earth Alliance that Ivan Mikolji and his sister Yelka and Mikolji and I have all put together. That is another one where they're going to definitely be there to support us, which is really cool because we might be able to link up with more Venezuelans and basically ship some fish out through Colombia from Venezuelan fish harvesters. And then there's going to be, yes, there is a Fishtoberfest, Celeste, and it is in Portland, Oregon. So you better start flapping your wings and heading there unless you live there already. But what I was going to say is Aquatic Arts has the sale going right now of 20% off everything that you can kill. That is everything that's currently alive is 20% off. However, we cannot get my code that supports the channel, which is a bummer because it's been that way since they started moving in July. And usually whenever people email and say, hey, I got this info from Alex, or they use my code, and the problem is there's just nowhere to input the code in the interface the way it is currently there. But usually we take that money and we're just like, you get a car, you get a car. No, we don't give away cars, but we do give away fish and gift certificates and things like that from them. But yeah, they do a pretty good job. You know, one of the critters, it's not a fish, but I figured I'd mention it too. And look at this, they've got some of these, they're not mormarid necessarily, but the ghost knife fish, they've been breeding those also, the black ghost knife fish and this one here. I've noticed they've been getting the tank bred, and it's somebody I think within the area too, which is pretty cool. But I mean, they've got $39.99 for an L333 baby, and then on top of that, I mean, another 20% off. It's pretty crazy deals right now. These are really cool too. But in any case, we're not going to stress on this today. I just thought I'd let you know that they're running this deal through the 6th of September. But they also have some pretty cool like goodieads, and they have a lot of shell dwellers and things right now that are kind of cool, like the little gold ocellated shell dweller. Look at the nose on the onodontodes on this puppy. Look at this, is not okay. I mean, this is downright pornographic right here. Oh boy. Yes, John, the ghost knife fish have been bred in captivity. And I think Aquatic Arts is the only place I've seen selling the captive bred ones, because there's a guy in the Midwest who's doing it. Now, there's some other really interesting ones like this that I was going to talk about that also breed in captivity, but it's tricky. And that is like the cuckoo catfish. So this will breed in captivity, but you need a mouth breeding cichlid that is already breeding for you. And then it needs to have its babies. And then it's a matter of having it have its babies. Then you have to get the babies to be in the mouth. And when they're in the mouth, or when they're being transferred, so laid on the ground, and then the mother is in the process of loading them into her mouth or rearranging them, then the catfish have to be ready to, those cuckoo catfish have to be ready to spawn. So they have to swoop in, kill the babies, or their babies do, depending on, I'm actually not sure. I haven't watched it happen. But I think usually they just eat the eggs, and then in the mouth, the babies will actually eat the other babies. So like the catfish babies will eat the cichlid babies that are in the mouth, and then they will end up being the new babies that mama takes care of, which is some dark and twisted mockingbirds type stuff. But you know, that's life. That's the way it goes. So I mentioned let's just jump around and have some ADD here, but this is the new feisty little boy that I got the other day. I got this guy, and he is beautiful. He is my, hopefully, I'm hoping he'll be one of my new male breeders of bettas, especially as we get into winter and fall. But he's got this iridescence, like it looks like a white kind of on here, but it's actually like blue. And if you have a UV light, it glows. Well, none of the rest of his body does. And he is just a feisty little boy. I mean, he will come and he will bite my finger. He'll come play with my finger. I mean, not scared of me at all. Whereas his girlfriend who's in here, I like to introduce them. And like, so here's another one that I remember as a kid, people were like, you can't breed bettas because they will, and this was just like, you know, fish magazines and stuff knew that this wasn't the case. But I just remember that my friends and local fish keepers, urban legend, ow, it surprised me, nibbling, would say like, you can't breed them because they'll kill each other the second you put them together. Well, the way I like to introduce my bettas is either through glass, and we'll do 2 tanks that are really, really planted up like that. Or I'll just drop them in a big tank with lots of dither fish and other fish and things that are going on, and plants and corners to hide and flow and all that. And then, you know, then it becomes their choice if they want to hang out. And if I see that one of them is really just being a terror to the other ones, then I'll try to, you know, interrupt what's going on and say, hey, knock it off, and I'll move them. But I'm trying to find out where she's at. I don't see her because she's pretty too. But we were going to name them, and somebody came up with the name the other day that I thought was pretty cute, which was Jackson Pollock for him. And then somebody was like, Jackson Pollock, what about Jackson haddock? Like the fish that we put in fish sticks, pollock and haddock. And so I was thinking about naming him Jackson Fish Sticks for a moment, but the question is still in the community tab, and I'm still waiting for suggestions to all roll in because he's something special. He's definitely a special boy. He really likes people. He's already, like, in the last 3 or 4 days just imprinted with me, which is really cool because some bettas are like, I don't know what you are. I don't know that your hand is attached to a human, and just get out of my life, you know? Oh, there she is. So that she's been going by Rose, and she is from, I got her from Big City Bettas, Amber. And when Amber's been moving, and so she's got she's had a discount going on her website for 10% off, but it was breeding stock fish. And Rose is pretty friendly too. I try not to handle them so I don't like mess up their slime coat when they're not underwater or anything. But she's, I mean, even during the live stream, you can see that she is, she's got some nice colors. She's like a creamsicle, and then she's also got these kind of rose blotches on her. But she's got the dark black eyes, which is kind of cool with this. And then the orange skirt, and then she's also got the light blue iridescence, the galaxy kind of thing going. But he's a Koi Nemo Galaxy betta, and then she is a Nemo Koi something. I'm not smart enough to remember. But Jackson Fish Stick, you like that one? All right. So not hard fish to breed. I just thought I'd mention that. And also I wanted to check in and show you guys the Aponigeton crispus, which look at this. It's poiple. It's poiple. And usually they're green, but it's poiple as heck. And I'm hoping that once it melts, it'll grow back. It's probably going to melt just because it was shipped 3 days, and they are a true aquatic plant, so they really need to stay underwater. But it had a good root system on it, and like 1 or 2 of these feel pretty stable, even though these other ones are needing to be trimmed. And hopefully I can get that to flower, come up out of the water here, self-pollinate itself like you've seen me do with my other Aponogetons, or Aponjeton, if you want to be French about it. Some French people say that. Also, I just figured that I'd show you. I'm not going to show you in depth right now, but over here, we've got a lot of growth going on with plants that are finally, like the Hydrocotyle verticillata has come out of the water. And all of the Ludwigias and Rotalas, they're all actually out of the water now, even though they're kind of growing over each other in this messy mound. Even the crypts are starting to come up out of the water and turn. So it should be interesting. I'm just kind of letting them grow like that for you guys. I did it for you. I learned it from you, Mom. Speaking of fish you can't breed, though, in captivity, we got some in here. And those are the Styphidilidos, the Styphodons, the silly Styphodons, the lovely Styphodons. Where are you? They're the Annie's Styphodon should be in here. I mean, they were when the show started. Where are you guys? There's also the dwarf anchor catfish in here too. I moved these guys out of there the other day, and then I just put them back in because I'm gonna trim tonight when somebody comes over to buy some plants. And then they'll get room back. But I felt so bad that they didn't have room to chill. Yes, Alan, thank you so much. So while we're talking about these plants, and while I was looking for the Styphodons who won't breed in captivity, we have an announcement and a super chat. Thank you so much, Alan. You're far too kind with the super chats. So generous to the channel. You guys don't know how much Alan keeps stuff going around here. I mean, same with like Zen Ginger helping out, and Danikin, Kenny, and Danny. I mean, just a lot of you people help out a ton, but I mean, he's definitely. Uh-oh, what is eating this? This is my star pupil, my favorite plant. Somebody got hungry and ate a whole lot of it. Overnight too. There's only one pleco in here, but there are 2 little cichlids. Maybe it was the cichlids, or it could be the snails. Snails could be turning on me. They could be trying to ruin my life. That has happened before. They'll do that. They'll try to ruin your life. They'll plan it out. But PSA is with immersed growth, and that's kind of where I was headed with this anyways. There's a mini butterfly. With the immersed growth going on here, it's a reminder that we have an Aquascape contest, and a lot of you guys I know entered, and we're hopefully going to see all of the cool entries. And we've got basically the 15th is when it's going to be due. Everything's due. And then after that, we will put together an episode where we review everybody's submissions and show you guys all the cool, 50 plus people there. I mean, there's actually like 90 people, but we'll see how many people follow through with the whole thing. So it could be up to 90, but we'll be then showing a nice selection of the fish that and plants that people have been putting together for us in this little competition. And then we'll be giving away lots of stuff. Let's see here. What does the when does the results for the aquascaping get told? Probably like the 20th. It'll probably be a few days after. So you got basically 2 weeks left on the money to get in your results. And then we've got Mrigel, and then we've got Alan, and I will be judging, and then we'll add up our points, and then we'll, add those all together. So everyone will have a score. But the scoring rubric is going to be available for people who want it afterwards. You know, transparency is a thing that we like in this day and age. So we'll definitely do that. And then if you want your aquascape, if you message me and say, hey, you know what, I really want to have you guys tell me what I could do better or what I did well, you know, we'll try to be constructive about it. There's no need to ever tear anything apart, because this is it's for home aquarists, and it's for beginners and pros alike. The idea is to learn something. We're all learning because most of us don't grow a whole lot of immersed plants. And so we'll be sharing, like, just like I'm doing here. It might be cool to be able to say, oh, here is Ludwigia ex lacustris. Take a nice picture of it on, you know, on a white background underwater versus here. You know, here is Rotala mini butterfly red, even when it's not underwater though. Boom, it's just green and it looks like all the others. So some plants underwater definitely look way different. And some plants look super similar. Other plants look way different above water, and you can differentiate them. Like crypts, you can only tell by their flower above water sometimes. And then underwater, they may look totally different. You may have one that looks like a freaking watermelon that's orange and brown and bronze and red. And then the same exact one, like Wendetti or Wenti, I guess Wenti I don't know why I always say Wendetti, but I do. That one will come out, and it underwater could be green gecko by Dennerle, or it could be bronze, it could be red. And so you can't tell the species just by that. So you got to look at leaf shape, and then you got to look at the flowering, immersed growth. But yeah, a lot of us never get to the immersed growth part. And so if it weren't for buying the things at the store, we may not even know what species of what plants we have. But yeah, so if you want to help name these fish, and under the community tab, members, I'm going to be picking a name from one of the members' suggestions for both of those fish. All right, so that was the little reprieve there. Oh, right on. I would love to check that out, Fish Kid 61. You were working on a documentary video on native fish of New Zealand. Yes, I would love to check that out, especially because I wanted to see, you know, those big eels that you guys have. Those have always fascinated me. So, yeah. All right, so let's look at a couple more fish that I have in my possession that are not really breedable. So we have Stiphodons, which we already mentioned, but there's so many different Stiphodons. Now, Cully loaches, years ago, people said that they weren't good to breed in captivity, or that they won't breed in captivity. It's just not true. They do. I've had them breed in captivity. It is a little tricky to keep the babies alive. They're real skinny, and they need like vinegar eels and stuff. This tank is getting so overgrown right now, and this light's just weak sauce light. But I was hoping. Oh, man, we can't even see the Stiphodons right now. They're not coming out. But I leave the algae, as you guys know, on a lot of these because that's what they need. Stiphodons, bumblebee gobies, they need that, or they won't make it. So here we go. Here's a bunch of Stiphodons hiding, running for the hills. Run to the hills. And here's another fish that I don't think I've read anybody breeding this one in particular, the Borneo spotted loach. It might just be new because it's, or it might just be because it's new that hasn't happened, or I haven't read about it. Yeah, post whatever you'd like about Fishtoberfest. If you go to Danikin Aquatics, Kenny Edwards page, or his stuff, he's usually posting about it, and he's got flyers. I posted a flyer too on my community tab that you can copy and paste. So whatever's easiest, but yeah, feel free. Be free. Rainbow fish talk. In a heavily planted tank, my bloodfin tetras spawn frequently. I see eggs that make it to the plants and substrate without getting eaten, but never again any fry. Yeah, that's very common. I mean, I have the same issue with a lot of fish. A lot of my fish will spawn, and I never ever see the babies. I'm like, what? I just, you know, for a long time, my angelfish were like that. I would see this gal, Vanity. Where is she? You're always hanging out somewhere around here, Vanity. Where are you? But I'd always see her with babies, and then they'd be gone in 3 days. They'd die. So sometimes it's a nutrition thing. They need to get food and they're not getting it. Oh, this poor guy got chewed up. But you know what's cool is I bought these a few years ago. You'll see the size difference of who's a baby and who's not. But we actually had babies that grew out just like you're talking about with these striped African barbs. And that's pretty cool because they're not super common fish. I haven't read, you know, I tried to find info on how to breed them. Same with these banded dwarf loaches. See those ones with lots of stripes? Those are from Myanmar and Thailand. And there was no info. There's the angelfish. There she is. That's Sergio's ex-girlfriend. And you remember he passed away. But she would have babies all the time. And she would all of a sudden just like snap, and she'd go from protecting her babies to eating them. So sometimes that happens. I mean, fish are temperamental that way. I mean, you just never know. The other thing I was going to mention to you guys while we were here is that my half-beaks have had babies, but they're really hard to find. Speaking of hard to find babies that you never see again, I saw 5 in here the other night. And I was like, oh, great. She had babies. They weren't super teeny, but they were pretty small. Here's one of the females. And they were pretty small. And they've got all this stuff to hide in. But there are a pair of apistos in here. And I'm almost positive that's who would eat them, if not their own parents. Usually a fish will eat its own babies frequently. Yeah, Father Fish, good to see you. I think, yes, it is. Yeah, you're right, Zen Ginger. That was Sergio's widower. Exactly. So we've got in here, these guys are always just hanging out at the top. And I thought it meant that they were that they couldn't breathe well, but they're always just being bums. They just like hanging out at the top and eating, and then they fall asleep. It's really weird, these cories. I want to know if those cories, the orange Venezuelans, live in a different type of water than most cories, because they're always hanging out there, or if maybe they just got hungry and they're trying to eat all the baby half-beaks. Oh wow, the blue phantom pleco is really blue right now. I don't know if you can make out that through all the stuff that just got kicked up, but look at that blue. So that's another one that was really hard to breed years ago. And now, you know, we figured out that you just need to have the enough caves. You need at least double the caves as there are pairs. And then you just need to let them pick their own cave. And then you need different sizes of caves and different choices. And you need the sandy substrate because they're going to be digging in it and stuff. So, I mean, really, the moral of the story is that you got to replicate nature in every way whenever you can to breed fish. But Father Fish mentioned, is it because that, you know, is it because of the water that they live in, these fast waters and things? Is that why they're not breeding in captivity and stuff? And it's hard to say exactly what's going on. Here comes the Mormorid. Come on, here you go. And it's amazing. I can actually feel her, him, whatever it is, power. I need to get a little headphone jack and a little reader to let me know if it's a male or female. You can tell by the electrical signal. But this little apisto, I think, is who's eating the fry. It doesn't take much to have someone decimate all your fry, even if your tetras and things are starting to finally, you know, spawn. But so I found that even though hill stream species are supposed to be living in fast moving water, Yes, that's good. And the more natural you can make it, great. They like to swim. They like to use their muscles and get that movement out and stuff. But in here, what's more important is having clean water. And this is not, so this is the smallest of the elephant nose fish, Stephen. But yes, a lot of them grow really big. This one grows about 6 to 7 inches max. It's already at like 6 inches and it's wild caught, obviously, because I was just saying how we can't spawn them in captivity. But this thing needs to, this tank, what's important is that the TDS stays low and that the aeration stays high. And so in here, we've got fish like the half beaks, like all these little pseudomagills in here, these Gutrudes, which are starting to look really nice. These are, and by the way, these are all from Aquatic Arts, if you were wondering. And they need that. Same with the Apistos. They just need really clean water. So water change, water change, water change is what's important in here. And same with those blue phantom plecos. They're not like a stagnant water fish. Now, the Mormorids, they seem to be able to handle more range, but Borneo loaches, they don't like it if you don't change their water. They live in streams, and the reason we have so much trouble with the Stiphodon, with the Borneo loaches, with a lot of loaches in general, and things like that. The reason we have trouble with them is because of they are egg scatterers. They're communal spawners and they're seasonal spawners. And we're going to go through that list in just a minute of the things you need for successful fish reproduction in your tank. The list of stuff. We got another male showing off for us right here. They've had some babies, and yet again, as you were saying a minute ago, this fella here, he sometimes goes all the way red. But he's hunting a shrimp is what he's doing. He got a shrimp stuck in his mind, and he followed one and got stuck between the glass and the cave, and he doesn't know how to reverse. So he does this headstand dance, and he gets himself in this position all the time, just like that, trying to get out of it. Also, we've got over here, we've got least killifish, and we've got the clown killifish. I was curious if the similar spawning mechanism would trigger both of them. And there's no filter in here. There's no aeration. These are both killifish. And, another fish that you're not going to be able to spawn sometimes unless you get things just right is our killifish. They need like the water to be evaporating, and they can sense how much water's left. And they need to know like TDS going up, water evaporating, I'm going to be trapped. And so they lay eggs in the mud, or they even come up out of the water and like kind of beach themselves and lay some eggs. And those critters, they're very specialist. Same with these Stiphodons. They need all this biofilm just to survive as adults. So that's why everything's covered in algae. And I actually use Bacter AE and natural light as well as synthetic light to get the algae going in here, as well as like Father Fish had mentioned, since these are all hill stream or stream species, I always make sure there's like a 4-inch drop, because nothing mimics the aeration of a creek quite like water dropping. Just air bubbles coming to the top just doesn't quite do it. And the same goes for the algae and things. Like you need medium rocks and big rocks because you get way different algae growing on them from different things. And these guys live all throughout these rocks. They have little burrows in there, and they stick their head out and they burrow in through here and they dart all over. But the bottom line is, yeah, they need very clean water too. So even though this tank looks scuzzy and dirty, it's got a bunch of species that you can't breed in captivity too. The Stiphodons, because they will have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of babies in that little fish right there. They can have, some of them can have up to 10,000 babies, some of these Stiphodon species, and they are basically, I don't think they're quite single cell, but they're almost like a single cell little larva. And they get washed out to stream, or from the stream back into the ocean. By the way, here's some catfish that have never been bred in captivity. They're just new. And these are Myanmar catfish. These are Myanmar dwarf yellow catfish, yellow bumblebee catfish. And I've got 3 of them in here. They're very odd. They almost move like they're dead or drugged or something. But they're pretty. Yeah. Bates and Genetics, thank you. You said howdy. I hope you're doing awesome. Well, right back at you. But yeah, so there's some fish that just you're not going to get bred because of how many things need to be just right. And it's hard to mimic seasonal spawners. It's hard to get that right because, you know, if they only spawn one time a year and you're in a whole new part of the world, and then you got to mimic the wet season or the dry season to a T. I mean, that would mean actually changing the barometric pressure in theory. There's some fish that like carp, when the barometric pressure goes low and it starts raining after it's been hot for days, in the Northwest in the spring, they start jumping everywhere. Not the jumping silver carp or Asian carp, just normal carp. They'll do that. And I'm going to try to catch that next year on film for you guys because it's pretty cool at Green Lake where I go hang out and catch fish. Now, the other thing going on in this aquarium here that I guess I should tell you is that some of my loaches, these guys are coming up on 3 years. All of a sudden, they got ick. These guys have nothing's new in the tank. I don't know how they got it. No one else in the fish room has ick, but I don't know. I mean, I've had guests here all week, staying in this room, and I don't know if the light's going on and off at weird hours or whatever did it, but these are the panda loaches I was talking about being so hard to breed in captivity. And it turns out the fella over at Aquatics that has figured it out, Father Fish actually had him on an episode of his show. Turns out on here we've got more species of Stiphodon that are just shy, so they'll only come out. They just don't like the camera for some reason. It scares them. Or the gimbal, like the stick and everything and the way it moves. But yeah, these guys, the way they got them to breed when I talked to him was he said he used a bubble tea type straw. So like a big gauge straw, like a drinking straw, and he buried it completely upright in sand and pea gravel, and that's what they went into. So I had no idea that was, you know, like who would have thunk it? But they live in the banks of that river. He found out that there's like a whelk, a little like snail type thing that lives in the banks and leaves these holes. And when it's the flooded season, they tend to the loaches tend to go in there and hide at night. Whoa, I don't even know how much or what a CRC is. Is that Costa Rican something or Cuban something? But 1,000 of them, super sticker. Thank you so much. I appreciate it greatly. Thank you for the support, Daniel Castro. I really appreciate it. Yes, Andres Ryan of Aquatics. Thank you, Father Fish. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So yeah, I mean, there's fish that are just going to be harder to breed than others, but let's go over that list of what you're looking for in a fish that you want to breed. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. I don't even, you know, there's so many settings on here. All right, let's flip this around. So we've got my ugly mug. Hi, guys. All right, we're back to ugly mug mode. All right, we got that. All right. It's the technology from the camera. Phone the fish don't like. Yeah, probably. Costa Rica, right on. Costa Rica, a beautiful country, full of biodiversity. I'd love to go collecting fish down there someday. Someday I will make it back down to Central America. All right, so... Father Fish, do you know any other fish that are impossible, quote unquote, to breed in captivity? That doesn't mean that they actually are. Hold on, let's get this. Testing. 1 2 1 2. Can you guys hear me? Doesn't mean that they are, but things like the bleeding heart. So right here on my list of impossible, or basically they're not being done, they're one-offs when they have happened. I've got the list that includes the clown loach, the panda loach, the Stiphodon, entire complex of those little gobies. And the problem is they have larval babies. Any fish that has larval babies, they have to have the babies go out to sea from fresh water in those highly aerated conditions. Do I have, what is this, a leaf stuck to me? Great. And then they have to go eat the plankton that's just specific, like high protein. Plus, they can eat the specific kinds of plankton that they've evolved to eat. And they can swim up to 500 or 700 kilometers to another set of islands. And then they swim up and then they, you know, they gain their muscle back as they're swimming in. Now, bumblebee gobies and a lot of other, I mean, just gobies in general, any gobies that are born in fresh water, then swept out to sea as larval fish. Basically, if it's a larval fry, it makes it extremely hard to hatch in captivity. But the Florida Aquatic or Aquaculture Research Center has done some of it. They've been doing it with the firefish, which I got video of 4 years ago now, but I couldn't tell anybody, but it was exciting to see that. Oh, I missed a question too, which Oink Masters says, best suggestion for quality tank water remover filler for the sink python. I need to invest in one that's at least 75, prefer 100-foot hose. I'm struggling to lift the buckets. What I do, and I like better, the python for a lot of people works great. For me, I had a house where the pressure, it would get too high and it would actually cause the seam on the sink around the faucet to spray out. So, I mean, it really ratchets up the pressure when you click it off. And then the way it flows through is it uses the Venturi flow, which is really cool. If you Google, well, actually, we could probably, let me see if I can find it real quick here. I have actually elected to use a pump. So I got a pump for a little fountain, and it moves, I want to say it moves like 500 gallons an hour or something like that. Maybe it's 1,000, but it was cheap. It was like 20 bucks. And I put that, it has a piece, and I just went and got the right size PVC piece. And I just went and got that. And then that ended up being all I needed to attach. And then when I plug it in, I put it in the tank, and I put the little pump in there, and it sucks it up and shoots water down. But that lets me go up or downstairs. It lets me do the bottom tank and the top tank. Then I don't have to prime anything like blow or suck on it on the hose trying to get it started. So I like the electric kind where you can put a pump on it, honestly. Clown loaches, yes, they have been bred commercially. They've been very difficult traditionally. Was it Andres who bred those early on? I know when we were talking too, he said that the one of the skirt tetras as well as the bleeding heart tetra, also very, very hard to breed. Russell, I appreciate it. I just try. If I don't know, I default to someone else because there's a lot of people around here who know a lot. I don't know things they do. Christopher, hello, welcome. Yeah, larval babies are nearly impossible to manage based on food requirements. Totally. And by the way, if you guys don't know who Father Fish is, you'll want to check him out, especially if you're into planted tanks and deep substrates. I mean, if you're into deeps, if you're into that, I mean, that might be okay too. But you know, I don't know how his astrophysics or quantum mechanics are. on that channel anyways. I think might not be on there. Oh, I was hoping to find you guys a good animation of Venturi Flow on here, but I don't see a good video on YouTube of it, which is a bummer. But yeah, you can do it basically with, you know, oh yes, Aquaculture Lab developed protocol for breeding clown loaches. All right, right on. So the Florida place that I was telling you guys about, that is who figured it out. I should make a video showing you guys my pump system because I've got 75 feet of hose. The problem is clearing that hose completely is pretty hard to do. Yeah. All right. So the secrets of the day. What do you need? Fatherfish, Lou, you rock. We astral meditate daily. There you go. From the man, the legend himself. All right. So there are fish that we can breed, like salmon. That was a good example. We can breed them. We know what they need. We can get them to breed. It's just a lot of work and infrastructure that's specifically for them. So you need a big profit motivation or a big passion project by a rich person, or incentive. Incentive is what you need. And the same is true of like a mono shrimp. They need to be hatched in, they need to live in freshwater, and then they go and they have larval babies that wash out to sea, and then they come back into the estuaries and marshes, hang out, growing and eating. And then when they're finally looking like their parents again and they're like a quarter inch long, then they work their way inland up into the creeks, streams, and all that. People have bred them in captivity. In places like Indonesia, it may behoove the people to actually set up a saltwater flush system, and a system where they've got just the sun pounding down for free, and they can have these holding tanks, and so they can let the water evaporate down. They can add things to make the TDS high, like crushed shells. So they raise the TDS, they let the water evaporate. Then the Amanos shrimp, you know, they see that they're pregnant or whatnot. Then they actually will flush out that whole area, and they will send the larvae that are hiding all over, because it'll be a concrete pond with like nothing but concrete, or maybe terracotta pots for them to hold on to, and then algae from the sun that they're eating. But they'll wash that out, and then it'll wash into another holding tank or kiddie pool or whatever of already salt water or brackish water. They'll hang out in there. They live close enough to the real salt water. Herein lies the problem. Even at like the problem they ran into when they were trying to breed Pacific blue tangs, firefish, angelfish, things like that from the salt water, is that they would have to go and literally get real water from the oceans. And so all the facilities needed to be right there. And the same thing is true of like great white sharks, or some of the things we've tried to keep in captivity, whales over time and things like that, where in theory you would think, oh, okay, that tank or that bay or cove or whatever is big enough. What's missing is it has to be that water. You just can't replicate the biodiversity that the ocean has. So if you can bring buckets of that water that day within an hour before everything dies into their enclosure, then you're golden. However, if you live here, you're not going to have the nutrients profile that you may need. So even if it's not the same, if you're not living in the same ecological zone, you need to at least be in the same sunlight exposure zone, because like algae and the diversity is very predictable. The farther north you go, the less diversity. You know, the more light you go, the deeper you go in the column, the more species there are in a given surface area of water, you know, what's underneath it. And the more shallow it is, like reefs and things, you get a lot of diversity too. There's exceptions to that. But basically, if you look at a map, it looks like a heat map, where around the equator you get red for species diversity, and going north, subtropic, yellow and then green. And then in the polar regions, there may be a whole lot of biomass of, say, tubifex worms and 6-gilled or 3-gilled, 4-gilled, 7-gill, all those weird number gill sharks that hang out low in the water, you know, deep in the water, and they live 300 years. But there may only be 15 or 20 species of apex sized fish there. Whereas in the tropics, there's 100 or 50 apex sized fish. So the bottom line is the food that you try to use in London or Paris, or not Paris, but like Brittany or Normandy, or Newcastle, in, you know, if you're on the English Channel or something and you're trying to feed your fish larvae from just using algae from the saltwater, it's not going to have the same profile as tropical saltwater. So that's the problem. In open water, the top 4 inches are thick with larvae and microfauna. Yes, definitely. And a lot of it has to do with, I mean, there's regions where the fish need, I mean, usually it seems like they've been able to crack the code most recently by breaking down macro and micronutrients that the fish need. So they'll say, all right, these fish, they eat plankton, and the net result of what they're eating in their diet, what's in their stomach when they do necropsies on these fish or larval whatevers, they'll see, okay, so it's 90% protein, 20%, or that doesn't work. Say 50% protein, 20% starch, 5% sugars, whatever it may be. But if they match those nutrients, the macros, then they're able to usually figure out how to keep them alive with supplemental stuff, golden pearls, or and golden pearls are like a little food that comes all the way down in 500 micron. Is it 500 micron? 50 micron? 50 micron is the size that it comes into food for newborn stuff. Holy tamales, Alexander, at it again. The secret backer in my aquarium, holy cannoli, with the bomb of a super chat. Wow, appreciate that, sir. Says nice production value today. I appreciate that. I've been trying to work on that. Oh, did they make 5 microns now, Fatherfish? That is great. I need to get some of them. But whoa, great white sharks can swim upriver. They can. I don't know how long they'll live. Bull sharks are really more likely to do that, or black tips and stuff. Tiger sharks. But bull sharks are the ones that are just relentless. I mean, you can find a bull shark all the way in. They've found them in Illinois. I mean, what? Oh, the other side note I had today was that Aquatic Arts, I got to see the marketing director and the basically their whole creative team, and then also their buyers. So Matt is the guy's name, and then there's Preston, and there's a few people involved, but there's also another guy named Will, and William and Bill, and and David is the owner. He didn't come out, but there was a fish concert, PH Fish band, that they flew out and went to the Gorge, which is over on the east side of our state. Beautiful amphitheater in the wilderness, essentially, out in the desert. And I think they were kind of surprised that it was a desert, like with nothing. I mean, it's not just warm and a little arid with some pine trees. It's like there's nothing out there. There's not even cactuses. It's 115 degrees and dust and sand. People don't realize that about central and eastern Washington and Oregon, but we have a big old desert. Imagine walking through your cornfield, a wheat field in the middle of nowhere, Illinois, and you see a massive bull shark in the creek. Yeah, no thanks. The movie Jaws, I think, was based on bull shark attacks in New Jersey in the 1920s, if I recall. Big City Bettas, what's going on? Right there, there's Amber herself. We were showing off the Bettas earlier, but I don't know. Are you still slanging those Bettas with that deal? If so, the info I did update video on that. Oh, also, by the way, on the competition for the aquascaping, if you didn't do the first form, you're going to have to join us the next competition. But if you did the first form and you're waiting for the second form, I will post a thing near the 15th saying, hey, here's the second form, like on the 14th or the 13th. And that'll have the link for you guys to submit everything finally. But it's also attached to those original posts 3.5 months ago now, if you need to find them. But yeah, Amber has some beautiful, you actually know Newcastle is northeast England. No, I forgot. Let's see here. What am I thinking of? Newcastle. When I look at the map, oh, of course, it gives me Newcastle in my state. Let's see here. So, what was the city I was thinking of? Yeah, not Newcastle. That's way off from what I was thinking of. What was I thinking of? I'm thinking of where Lee lives. I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm off with that too. Oh, Portsmouth, Portsmouth, Southampton, Brighton, any of those places will work for what I was talking about. Anyways, they're all going to be in that same band. My point was someplace that's not tropical, but on the water. So I just picked a random place. And in my head, I was like, oh, I think Newcastle faces Europe, mainland Europe, which I guess it does, but it's a lot farther north than being parallel with France, that's for sure. So my bad. Thank you for the correction, Stephen. Yeah, Portsmouth, that'll do it. So only 62 likes. Come on, guys. Yeah, Fish Kid, I agree. Yeah, there is a lot of sage out there. All right, so let's finish this episode off, y'all. Let's top it off. Spank it on the butt, send it on home. So is there a different way to measure TDS besides digital meter? Are they accurate? I understand I need to know. Yeah, the digital meters work really well. Just get some distilled water once in a while, or bottled water that says purified or whatnot. And as long as it's under 10 TDS, for our uses in the hobby, that is going to tell you that, okay, it's working okay. But you could, there's other ways to figure it out. Just like with KH and GH, you can add reagents and they will stay like yellow, 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 and then you add one more drop and it turns green. They're like a tipping point reagent, and those tell you a certain amount of KH or GH, and then you can add that up. There's also electrical resistance that you can read a little bit differently, but the little TDS gauges do that. That's what they're doing, is they're sending a signal from one prong to another through the water, and they're timing it and reading the amplitude and the frequency. So yeah, I will be live again on Friday. However, you know, Friday has been a rough one lately with the way my life has been. I love the slot personally, but I've had so many things coming up that have been a challenge where I've had to, like, you know, I've done it in the car or I've done it on the go. So for now, the plan is to keep it at Friday at 7:30 will be the next live stream. That's Pacific time. If that changes, it would be switching back to Saturday, midday or something, or early afternoon Pacific time. That being said, 4 o'clock on Tuesdays will be staying the same. This Wednesday thing is because, as I posted in the community tab, we had my buddy in town, Greg, my lawyer and good friend. He needed to get his tattoo finished up that I'd started years ago for him. So I did that. But then when we got to the airport, they had rescheduled the flight because of Schmovid. They decided that there was not enough people on the flight or something, or somebody didn't have stuff figured out. So in any case, they canceled the one flight that happened each day and bumped it, and he could have done a layover and it would have taken forever. So we decided to drive him back to the house and hang out. But all that was going on, and we thought we'd be back home by 2 o'clock, and here it is like 6 p.m. and I should have been streaming yesterday and was just stuck at the airport and didn't get home until late. So I do apologize for that, but that's what happened. Well, and bettas have an incredible tolerance for high temperatures. Yeah, they are pretty cool. Yeah, father fish is at 8:30 East Coast, right? Friday, just before Lucas, who is at 9:30 East Coast time. Amber will be on, oh, right on. Amber will be on the father fish Sunday at 6 p.m. That's awesome news. Cool. Awesome. And again, thank you, Alexander. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really, really, man, can't thank you enough for all that you've supported me with here. Yeah. So let's go over, though, the little list that I've got here. Oh, and I also figured I'd mention the bumblebee gobies, as well as some of the other gobies, like the orange autocinklus. It's not, I don't know, it's not a goby, but it's a small little cleaning fish, a little not quite a sucker fish, but a little cleanup crew, small little guy. A lot of those little guys go in brackish water really well. If it's a fish that can live in brackish water and it's not like a live bearer or a mouth brooder or a bubble nest maker, there's a good chance it's going to be pretty hard to spawn. That's just, you know, so there's things that are just unique. So for instance, eels, some of them go all the way across the ocean. The European eel goes all the way across the ocean, and they have an island and like some kelp off the island, not even on the island, where they get together and they reproduce, and then they swim all the way back to Europe. There's a book about eels, and I'm spacing on the name of it. I think it's just called Eels. Eels. Let me find the name of it and show you guys. Eels book. The Book of Eels. Yes, it's called The Book of Eels by Patrick Svensson. If you want to know the history of trying to figure out where eels came from, for a long time they thought eels, like in ancient history, eels just magically appeared in water, like they were just this ethereal thing. And yes, the American eel also live in the Sargassum Sea in out near the kind of Caribbean. So, but it's a pretty riveting story the way they wrote it. I didn't have time to read it real tightly, so I kind of did a skimming through it and thought that was really cool. Father Fish says for a month or so. Yeah, definitely. I'm just looking right now for the stuff to show you guys what it looks like, so you guys can know what. Why is that not working? Dum 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 dum. Here we go. Here we go now. Salt and pepper and salt and pepper and salt and pepper are here. Why don't that happen? Nope. Nope. All right, we'll just copy this. Copy over and out. Roger. Roger Dodger. Boom. Okay, so Sargassum. This is what it looks like. Big old seaweed bloom out in shallow tropical water. But this is where the eels cry. This is what it sounds like when the eels cry. Doom, dun, 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 dun. Lots of this stuff washes up. You could see where something would want to spawn in this though. But they come near and far, actually pretty much mostly far. Man, look at all that. That is nuts. And they spawn in it. So do turtles. The turtles like it. And lots of plankton and other things do too. You can see here just cool imagery of that just for miles. But that's where all the eels in the world go, basically. Well, not all the eels, but all the saltwater, freshwater to saltwater eels that are in the Atlantic, they all go there, which I think is pretty darn cool and fascinating. Oh, here we go. So here is the you know, different frequencies. 5,500-mile algal belt. So it goes all the way here from western, like from, I don't know, Sierra Leone or Liberia maybe, all the way into almost like Texas or Louisiana in here. When there's a big bloom. Looks like 2018 and 2015 had huge blooms of that stuff, of the seaweed like stuff. And then here you can see 2011, not much going on compared to this, which is, that's just insane how much what that is, the energy. All right, guys. So oh yes, of course, Oink Master. Of course, we're welcoming you with kindness. Everyone here is welcome. There's no questions that are, you know, silly or whatnot. As long as you're being honest and that you want to know, and you're not. I mean, you can joke around and be a smartass. That's fine. I like that a little bit, but I like to do that. But I mean, just as long as your intentions are pure and your heart is kind, you're always welcome here. That's what we are about here. Having fun, learning from one another, and building a community. So yeah, let's see here. So, Chris, shout out to best friend Eel. Okay, too much eel talk, not to shout you out in the live chat. All right, let's see here. All right, so the other ones that never get it are the Stiphodons, the Mormyrids, the leaf fish. So when you look for bush fish or leaf fish, it's another one that they have a hard time spawning in captivity. These guys. Now there's some that you can, and there's others that are just tricky. But they have such niche habitats. Now the coolest one, oh man, I want these so bad. This is such a cool orange bushfish. Is such a cool one. That one's from the Congo. But the other one that we will look at is, you know, bumblebee, catfish. I don't know why that did that, but so these guys here, pretty tricky to breed, I hear. It's been done, but really tricky. And then there's just, you're not gonna breed, you know, like that's not one there, but it kind of looks similar. Some of these are Tatia mosaicas too, which are wood cats. Wood cats are really hard to breed too. You need to get like they need to eat wood and fibrous material, but they also need a pH that's like down in the like 3.5 to 4 range sometimes. Same with licorice gouramis. However, once they kind of cracked that that's what it was that they needed, they figured out that, oh, well, we can do this. Son of Quack says, kind of irrelevant, but man, I'm hungry. Leaving Hawaii tomorrow, and they have a lot of Japanese Polynesian food, like shrimp, maybe eel. I apologize to my Amano and fire eel friends. Oh, man, I wish. Fatherfish, have you bred the orange bushfish that you've kept? That's so cool. So if an eel lives in freshwater its whole life, or like spawns, you know, in a it spawns in a creek, but it lives in a lake. Like that's the case with some things. That's like a kokanee salmon is, or trout, whatever you want to call it. But it's like a landlocked salmon. That is it's you could in theory spawn that pretty easily. But it would be trickier to spawn the normal salmon because yeah, they go and they eat the whole different diet. But if they're just going from freshwater to freshwater and changing up their habitat, you can just move the babies to a tank that's closer to that. But yeah, let's see here. Yeah, not bred them. Yeah, they're so cool though. The other one that I was thinking of that have a hard time, some of the archer fish and things, I think they bred those now, but I remember at one point they hadn't. And so let's go over and let me switch this over to me because it's all about me. Me. All right. So you need the following. We're going to end the episode on this note. And, you know, thank you so much today to all my super chatters, to those of you who joined the community. And, you know, if you guys need more from me as a community, because sometimes I get busy, you know, because I have to take on side jobs and, you know, you got to pay the bills and do what you got to do sometimes. So I had to take on another gig and work about 30 hours each week on that alone the last 3 weeks, which has been a little bit busy. Plus my buddy who's the lawyer was in town, and we were setting up the nonprofit, the Green Earth Alliance, with Ivan Mikolji and I. So it's been a little busy, and I feel a little bad that I missed 2 episodes in a month that I normally would have had in there. But the special fish that we can sometimes figure out how to breed, but that are just really cool. You know, there's killifish that only live up in the hollow of a tree, or they only live in, like, you know, the leaves of a philodendron plant or some sort of pitcher plant, and they get their babies in there. You know, like there's the splash tetra. That is a cool one. They lay their eggs like on a leaf, and they lay their eggs out of the water. I mean, it's just crazy. But doing that in captivity, pretty hard to set everything up so that it's just right for the way they want it when they're so specialized. You know, discus, that's one that for a long time was hard, but people were dedicated because of how beautiful that fish is. But, you know, figuring out that the babies eat the mucus off the parents and that's their only food source at first. I mean, it's just crazy that nature works that way, and inspiring and interesting and weird and gross and beautiful all at the same time. But so if you want to know, can I spawn this fish? Am I going to be able to do it? This is kind of what I came up with, and doing some research and stuff. This is kind of what when I spoke with a few other people, they said, you know what, yep, that we should, if you got that, then you can do it. So you need one or more of the following. So if you have one of these attributes in your fish tank, your fish, then it's a possibility you can look into it. If you have a few of them going for you, then it's pretty positive that you'll be able to do it. And if you have 3, it's probably going to be easy. So first you need they need to be an egg scatterer. So if it's a fish that just scatters eggs, gets pregnant inside itself, then it's got the fertile egg and it scatters it, that's a good sign. If it is a sticky egg layer, so similar thing, but they stick it to stuff. Cories are a good example of that. They stick it to the glass. Angelfish are a good example of that. If they create bubble nests, so bettas and chocolate gouramis or gouramis in general, if they're a mouth brooder, and some of these fish are bubble nest laying, and then when the fish hatch for a few days, they're doing their thing, eating the yolk out of the protein out of their yolk in their stomach, their embryonic package that they've got left. But then the parents will come and put them in the mouth for safety. So there's different combos you'll see of this, but so then are they cave spawners? So like plecos or catfish that lay eggs underneath logs and on ledges? Are they a substrate spawner where they bury their eggs? There are things like sticklebacks that can do that. So, and then they guard the mound of where they've buried their eggs under the sand or something. Banjo catfish, I've seen doing that. And then are they group spawners, or are they just a pair? But if they're group spawners like salmon, you're probably going to have to do some sort of collecting the genetic material and then putting it together yourself. But is there parental care? If there is, there's a good chance that the larva or the babies or whatever that hard step is, as long as you've replicated the environment, the parents will lead them through the motions, which makes it really easy. It's a really good sign. And then lastly, if they are live bearers or they can self-replicate, then you're going to have a really easy time. You probably won't be able to stop them from having so many babies. But that's kind of the episode I wanted to cover today. Do we have any last minute questions, concerns, or amazing stories that we want to share before we head out here? I'm going to turn off this light. Still a nice afternoon out. My back is still really giving me a tough time with the walking and all that stuff. But yeah. Also, super chatters today. Incredible. Alexander Engelhart, you have been so extremely nice. Exactly what Zen Ginger is saying. It really, it moves me. It has moved the channel forward. It's moved the production quality forward. And hopefully, you know, it moves the likes and subs forward a little bit too. And I don't mean that in any way of, I want people that actually want to be here, that love the content, that love having a community, that love having people that are responsive. You know, I try to be responsive and answer your questions and things like that. And try to also, if I don't know the answer, I'll try to send it you to someone who does. Like Father Fish has had a lot of these fish that I haven't had. Another big group of fish that we didn't even touch on are, you know, red-tailed catfish, pacus, paraibas, all the ginormous fish that, yeah, you could breed them in captivity. Maybe they're the easiest fish in the world to breed as far as like the logistics of getting them to spawn or pair off. But how do you house them to have a 400-pound fish, two of, you know, a 250-pound female and a, you know, whatever, 200-pound male, and or 400 or whatever it may be, a 6-foot-long fish? I mean, you got to have a pool or an aquarium, like a professional, like public aquarium, and that limits those fish from being spawned in captivity frequently. But I'm going to get out of here at the 6 o'clock hour. I'm sure y'all have someone else you're going to watch. But thank you so much, Zen Ginger and Danikin and all the mods and things tonight. You guys have really helped out. Thank you guys for the ideas today. And tell about, I have pink guppies out the wazoo again. Oh, nice, Jennifer. Yeah, I think they just listed some of the pink guppies. Are those yours at Aquatic Arts? That's so cool that you guys have been able to team up with Aquatic Arts. So we have a bunch of channel community members that are selling to Aquatic Arts and getting a bunch of credit, and they're getting more fish, and then they're selling those. Sometimes they'll even, if you've proven a fish species or two that you can spawn that, if like Corridoras, like, oh, he spawned the other Corridoras, or he spawned this crayfish, they'll send you, you know, 10 of primo quality fish and, you know, a deal to give them what you spawn and sell the extras and whatnot. But they've done that for a lot of you guys, which I think is really cool. Oh, Jennifer, they are selling yours. Those are yours. I'll probably have to buy some. I was on the fence, but now that I know that they're yours, when you mentioned them before and you're like, they're really cool, I know that nothing does them justice in pictures. Like the color pink and the iridescence, I'll have to check them out again at Aquatic Arts. I need to do an order from them as summer winds down here. Like we had a 44-degree night, or 45-degree night last night for like 2 hours. It got kind of chilly with some wind, came off the water right here. And you know, then it's almost 80 again or 70 something today. But that's pretty cold, and I need to start now, possibly moving some of the fish in. And I feel like it's a month too early. And so I'm really hoping that we can put it off a little longer, you know. Here, Fishy, I'm sorry I'm leaving, but I appreciate you so much. You're going to do a 10-gallon salmon setup. Good luck with that. Bunny Viper, oops, too late, sorry, but thank you anyways. Well, thanks for stopping by. You guys, I always appreciate it. I hope if you're doing water changes or whatever that you have a good time. Link for Aquatic Arts and discount codes is in the description of the stream. Yes, and right now everything's 20% off through them if you want to buy stuff. If you spend a lot of money with them, maybe write them an email, because there's nothing linking my code to you guys. Use the 20%. Don't get a worse deal on my account because you want to support our channel and our community, because they give away stuff based on who's using the code in our community. But if you spend over a few hundred, or, you know, if you spend 150 or more or something like that, you can, I would appreciate it too if you sent them an email and just said, hey, I came from here, so that they know, like, all right, well, we should enter that person into the drawings, you know. And then when we do that, you guys will get like 100 points, whereas general community subscribers will get 10, and people who are just wanting to enter will get like 1. So you'll have tenfold improvement on winning the gift certificates and things. And I know a lot of you in here have won them now over the years. So people like Zen Ginger, I know, or Ginger Graves. I think you guys have both, right? And Chevy Fish, lots of folks have gotten it over time. Those of you who've been here forever with me, I appreciate it so much, honestly, I really do. But thank you guys. And if you ever want to talk about something or get something covered that you feel like, oh, I'd love it if you dive in and find out more about this, just let me know. I'm always looking out for that stuff. And I want to bring you guys the best quality content that I can, while still being true to me and just having it be fun. So we're all learning together, having fun, and continuing to grow this community in a positive way is the hope. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. But again, thank you, super chatters. Thank you, super people who are chatting, who just have great questions, and the new people and the people who keep returning. All of you guys rock. So really cool. Thank you. And I will talk to you guys later. Tell Greg safe travels. Yeah, he's home now, I think. I mean, we dropped him off at the airport this morning, finally. The whole fiasco was yesterday, why we missed the stream yesterday. But yeah, he got on a plane at 5 a.m. my time this morning. So he should be, yeah, definitely. It's a 6.5-hour flight if nothing got delayed, and his flight was at 7. I think it left. So yeah, he will be there by now. I'm sure he is. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. And Ivan Mikolji will be on the show soon again. We'll be talking about the nonprofit that we set up. And then also, we have some really big news. The last bit of little teaser I'm going to give you, since we're only down to 55 people in here. If you're stuck around this long, you're going to get a little treat. And that is that we have a fella, and I won't announce it. If you're into piranhas, you might know who he is. Lives in Oregon. But he has a poster that he's got the right. We're finishing up the legal side of it, but the rights to every species of piranha laid out in a poster. And then he is putting together a book of his entire life of 40 plus years studying piranhas, changing laws around the country, allowing temperate regions to have piranhas as pets, and his research with them just in their biology, evolution, and ecology. And he has basically contacted the Green Earth Alliance through Ivan and said, I want you guys to publish this book as a nonprofit thing. So it doesn't need to be for profit. I want the most comprehensive piranha book that's ever been made. And here's all the info. I mean, just stacks and stacks of years of notes and photos and illustrations and maps and drawing teeth and drawing, you know, just bones and in jars and all sorts of crazy stuff. But he's putting that together, and we're going to have him as a guest too, talking about piranhas and like the myth of how did piranhas get so vilified and how dangerous are they really? And it's like, you know, some questions like that that you may think, you know, but this guy's an expert. That is correct. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm going to get going. Take care of your critters, your plants, and the people around you. And of course, take care of yourself, because if you don't do that, you can't do the taking care of everything else. And if half of us did that, just half of the days of our lives, we would have a world that's twice as good. So I want to encourage it. All right, guys, take care. I'll talk to you in a video release that I'm working on that should be out probably Friday. And if not Thursday or Friday, I will talk to you on Friday with the live stream, or I'll post in the community tab if anything changes. All right, guys. Yeah, piranhas, the real life or true life. You think you know, but you have no idea. All right. Can you find out about great whites swimming up a river? I know they have. They've done that. They just can't stay in the freshwater for super long, whereas bull sharks can just chill there for a year or 6 months. But the great whites can go upriver. I don't think they do it very often, but there are some really old reports of it. Leo, thank you. All right, guys, take it easy. Have a good morning, evening, night, noon, whatever it is, lunar year. And you guys, with all the support for the channel, thank you so much for the continued support, and for those of you who just kicked it up a notch tonight too. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. Be your best you. Enjoy life, and I'll talk to you later. Oh, I will post the information about the Piranha chat. I'll talk about it. It'll be probably in a week or two, but I'll post it as a standalone event, and it should be up for like 2 or 3 days before we do it, because it'll be a live stream, and it'll be a question and answer live stream too for the expert. So, and I'll give you a clue. His first name is Frank. All right, guys, I'm out. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.